What's going on with this battery life?
On a run from my given disaster. Speed away from the holy mind. Pride.
What is going on, folks? I'm Des with DesFit, and I've been testing the Apple Watch Series 4 for the last 4 days alongside some other watches. And if you watched the opinion video, you'll know that I was pretty disappointed that they still are touting just the all-day battery life. And I thought it was going to be kind of a pain to have to charge it every single night, but I'm getting much more than all-day battery life. First off, thanks to all you returning subscribers for tuning back in, but if you are new to the channel, I'd encourage you to check out my in-depth fitness review of the Apple Watch Series 3 that I did last year. I tend to go into quite a bit of detail in my review, so if you're into that kind of stuff, definitely subscribe to the channel down below. Now, although you could technically call this a review, I'm not calling it a review. These are just more my first impressions over the first 4 days. I'll have a very detailed follow-up full review. Now, I'll get into the battery life in just a second, but the other thing that I don't think Apple really gave credit for was the display on this thing. This thing is a big upgrade from the Series 3. It's massive, it's beautiful, and for actual screen real estate, it's probably one of the largest even available, but it's still totally wearable and doesn't feel like a satellite dish on my wrist. And then complementing the display perfectly is that infograph watch face. Now, I know a lot of us here are Garmin owners, and the first thing that we do when we buy a Garmin is we download one of those awesome watch faces that displays tons of that data. And although the infograph watch face is a little bit different, I think Garmin owners will appreciate it. There may not be as many data points in regards to fitness that you can display on the actual watch face, but what is cool is that it's interactive, so you can go directly to more detailed information. And then this is kind of how I have mine set up, mainly geared for outdoor activities. But going back to that display, unfortunately, it does come at a cost, and that's going to be the battery life. So they claimed all-day battery life. I'm getting much more than that. And this is one of those more rare situations where Apple actually understated the capabilities of the device, and that's going to be good for all of us. So for the first 24 hours, I just wore it as a smartwatch. I actually wanted to test out automatic workout detection to see what it would and would not recognize, and that video is coming soon. But let's see here. I received a lot of notifications because I own an Arlo. I had a handful of texts. No calls, but definitely played around with it quite a bit because, well, it was the first day with the watch. But basically 24 hours later, after a full charge, I still had over half of the battery left. And by the way, I did make a few changes. I changed to a black background on the watch face, and then I turned off standard reminders, and then I made sure to have it set on the lowest brightness setting, and then 15 seconds for the wake screen. Which, by the way, Apple, come on. You only give us 2 options for the wake screen timeout and then 3 options for the brightness. And at the lowest brightness setting, it's already plenty bright, so I'd love to see something a little bit lower, which would probably increase battery life. But the next day I went for about a 2-hour bike ride while being paired to my phone so I could actually utilize the connected GPS from my phone, which in theory should help with battery life. I got a couple texts that I replied to directly on the watch as well as 1 phone call, again paired to the phone, and I only used 12% of the battery for that ride. That's not bad at all. And then on the third day, I went for an hour 40 bike ride, but this time I disconnected it from my phone, so I was just using the standalone GPS, but no LTE. It started out with 78%, and then to my surprise, it only used about 18% of the battery. So that means that the 6-hour GPS battery life estimate may actually be a little bit low. But in terms of the GPS and heart rate performance, I have a lot more testing to do on this, obviously, but the GPS performance is looking pretty good so far. I've tested about a half dozen activities so far and haven't seen any spikes, any drops, and the actual accuracy is kind of blowing my mind. But back to this battery life. So I'm definitely getting better than expected results. For instance, over a 48-hour period, I went for that hour 40 bike ride, and then the next day I just did an indoor biking session for about an hour, and at the end of the day, I still had 20% left. So unless you're using your watch a ton, I think you should easily be able to get 36 to 48 hours out of this, maybe even more, including using GPS. And I generally use a device that can last 5, 6, 7 days on one single charge. And I thought I was totally gonna have to change around my routine, have to place that thing on the charger every single night, but that's not necessarily the case, actually. Now, this has been great, but still, it is going to be more of a smartwatch and less of a sports watch. So far, the hardware is exceeding my expectations, and that's kind of the misconception with the Apple Watch is that some people may call it a toy, but the hardware in this thing is really solid. It's the software experience that makes it not all cupcakes and unicorns. There's still some strange stuff in here, like when you click on a workout, it just kind of automatically starts, and you really kind of just don't know if you have a GPS signal. And the fact that once you click done after you completed an activity, it kind of just disappears from the watch, and you can't view the actual activity details on the watch itself, and you have to go to the app. And here's the thing, pretty much every other watch on this planet does this. And here's my reasoning for this, is that the data is in context on my watch. So when my buddy asked me, oh, you went on this sweet ride, how many feet of climbing did you do? Well, I don't necessarily whip out my phone. I actually look at my watch because the data is in context. This is the device that I use to record that data. And then there's those limitations like the 3 brightness settings as well as the 2 wake screen timeout settings. And then still only having the ability to do auto pause on running workouts and not any other workouts. And this is obviously something people do want because it's on the Strava app. So as you can tell, this is still pretty tough, and my heartstrings are totally being pulled in 2 different directions here. But it does illustrate the point that there is no perfect watch. We all still have to choose between more of a smartwatch or more of a sports watch. My primary phone is an iPhone, and this thing is just such a great smartwatch, but then I'm just feeling a little bit about the sports features on it. And it's even tougher because the hardware is just so darn good in this. It's just that the software experience is like, well... But I am happy to report at this point, the battery life is exceeding my expectations, and I think it's actually usable. Am I giving up a more advanced fitness tracker? No, this is just a more appropriate device for me, but the smartwatch experience, it's pretty dull. But I will have to say that I think the Apple Watch is going to be spending a lot more time on my wrist. Anyhow, these are just my initial thoughts after the first 4 days, but I definitely want to hear what you all are experiencing down below. But while you're down there, you could also hit that like button if you liked the video, and also subscribe to the channel for really in-depth fitness technology reviews, as well as the final verdict on the Apple Watch Series 4 that's coming soon. In the meantime, have fun with your fitness, and we will see you in the next video.